right, students, come on now. I'm kidding.
It feels stupid.
Just because I don't have a warm-up.
I can fit it inside my thingy.
Well, thank you. Someone took a lesson from Dr. King earlier today, right? Okay.
Make a difference?
I'm actually going to pull this up to
Does that
show
mean
you
that they
who
can hear my
we
voice
are.
right now?
Jude is out there doing fine-tuning the last bits of this memory wire experiment. So we're actually going to start with that. My goal at this point, and I realize I'm starting very close to 2, so about an hour, we're going to do things really kind of quickly. It won't be as hands-on as I would have liked it to be, but given a lot of circumstances that none of us could control, including the weather, it is my intent not to keep you here past what would be deemably safe. And I know that for many of you, you have things coming up after school per se, whether it's meetings or whatever going on, if your school is still operating, who can say. Some of you are here taking your precious snow day to be with us, which is also appreciated, I can tell you. A little bit about me. Most of you know who I am at this point. Maybe some of you don't, but I think that might be half the room. I am Heidi Bromley, obviously. I am currently, one of the senior math specialists at Questar 3 BOCES. So I do have the privilege of working for Jim Baldwin. He's a phenomenal guy to work for, or work with, if you guys ever get a chance to work with or meet him. But I have been in New York State education for 20 years. I started out as 1/3 of the math department in Middleburg, New York. And then I went on to Mohonasen Central Schools, where I was the K-12 administrator for mathematics. So I really got into the full spectrum, but I'm still really in the high school. And as George can attest back in the back of the room, because he worked with me for several years there. So starting in my 9th year there, then my job was cut because of budgetary reasons. And it was I mean, I miss a lot of people. George is one example of a phenomenal educator who is there. But on the flip side, I absolutely love what I do with Questar. And I wouldn't trade it. And I never would have known about it otherwise. So sometimes things happen. Working with me today because science, now I'm going to say this correctly because it drives me crazy when people say, yeah, I'm not a math person. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you walk around? Do you use math in your life every day? Absolutely. I cringed. Anybody around me saw me probably do like this. When Dr. King mentioned the teachers that come in, we have the fact that we actually have elementary teachers who are certified to teach and did not pass the math component of their exams. Well, in one way, it means I'll always have a job. Because that's what I do with professional development, right? I've got to work with those teachers. That scares me. That's wrong. But we got to start from where we are and move forward. And I'm kind of preaching to the choir because you guys are here because you are, if not comfortable with this medium, you are interested in this medium. And that's the kind of educator we need. So I deeply appreciate that. Working alongside me today is a biomedical engineering student from RPI. I have Jude Dempsey. And she is my science strength today, so I greatly appreciate that. And this is because I've done a series of presentations in this conference, and some of you have been to more than one of mine. I have a couple groupies in the audience. The first one I called Lighting the Spark, which is our elementary kids. The next one I called Fanning the Flame, because those are our middle school kids, and this one I'm calling Fueling the Fire. We are working on modules from K through 12. We are unique in that. I was speaking to the fellow who's here from New Mexico because he's excited about what we're doing. They have those kits purely for community college. They're interested to see what we do with our students that feed into programs like that. From Princeton, this summer we had a gentleman from Princeton, and I'm not going to remember his name, so I'm not going to butcher it. He came to our workshops and we were developing these modules, the initial steps of that. And they're excited that when they become a finished product, we're going to be on an international website because we're the only center so far that is really working in this area. And that's important. If we don't catch them, they're not going to be in community college in these programs, right? We've got to get them interested. So it's very exciting. All right. So one of the modules that actually the module we're going to start with, I think, because you just did a lot of work on the memory wire. You want to start there?
I'll try. I was trying to get it to work out.
Well, we will, but we're not quite ready for the experiment. But I want to have you ready for, we'll start with that one, and then we'll go to Magic Sand. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay.
What are we
Well, I'm going to show the video first. That's on the, and then we're going to pass these out. So because I'm doing the abbreviated version, and I understand that, and again, that's weather related, we're going to pass out a few things to you. One, and what I'm going to do is the age-old split the pile and hand it to both sides of the room. And if there's extras, you're welcome to keep them, okay? We don't have the full modules ready yet. As I been explaining in other workshops, it is a long process. Yes, the grunt work, if you will, was done this summer. But there's a whole process of gathering materials and having it ready in a packaged form that takes almost a year. We are going to be working on more modules again this summer. If you are interested in that, you can certainly contact me throughout this. Mine are the 2 top emails over there. I went ahead and left that up from my morning session on the math course that I'm also involved in. Okay? So the first thing we're doing, I'm passing out, there's a couple things here because there's, with the memory wire, okay, which is what we're talking about, the nitinol. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Nitinol. There's a couple of projects that go with that. And I'm going to hand these out. This is a worksheet that would go with work they take home with them. Find 5 things on the internet. We're going to watch a very short video. Then we're going to get to play with the wire a little bit. So this is part of the material those students would get. Just make sure you get it in the front row there. There we go. So take and pass through your section. And then this is actually a project that is part of this module. And it includes the rubric. I stapled the rubric to the back when I produced this, okay? So give you a sense for that. And don't forget the folks sitting on the side. Make sure they get a copy as well as it goes around. Okay, there should be enough for everyone in the room, I'm hoping. At least one. All right, so in this, one of the things that will also come with it is these teachers created PowerPoints. So we're going to zip through this relatively quickly. But one of the things I definitely want to jump to, because obviously one of the things that we have are glasses. Many of our glasses now have memory wire. Because if you get slammed, they come back into shape. I can remember my first pair of glasses, and now my eyes have been surgically altered, and it's just, I am very grateful for being able to do that. But when I was 8 years old, you know the Coke bottle bottoms? Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. We've come a long way, and so this is definitely helping. So now we're just going to pray everything works, because it should. Just because it should. Is this no sound? Oh, why is it muted?
No, I think you just muted it.
I have no idea. Did I turn the sound on? Maybe there's no sound. But this is one of the things we're going to be trying here. And the heat makes it go back.
Yeah. Couldn't get that to work. I wasn't able to get it to work out there, but we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, that's our goal.
I think this is a thicker.
Okay. It's a little thicker than that? All right, so when we do this, we talk about several, normally you would have several types of wire. We are specifically working with one type of wire, the nitinol, which is actually the memory wire, okay? So we go through and we talk about, is it ductile, is it malleable, all of these things. They'll notice that these are all things that you do as part of your project. And then how can we explain the differences, and then here's some background information. These are probably all more relevant to you guys. You guys are chemistry and so forth. So you probably know this is going on. And then so all of this is part of it. So a lot of this you get with the module. I know I'm jumping here, but I really want to get to play with this wire. Unfortunately, we don't have enough for everybody to play. We're going to be doing it, Jude and I will be doing it as a demonstration. Okay? So then there's all of this about that, the compound and how it makes it unique. I'm going to talk about mixtures. So there's a lot here. I know, I feel like I'm skimming, and I kind of am. But when we do this, I didn't keep a copy for myself. That was brilliant. Okay. A nitinol garment design. That's interesting. Okay. Yes, they do. They map both to the science standards, and I'm going to be putting in the math elements that are, clearly, whenever we explore anything, math is also related to it.
So science ought to be chemistry.
Actually, I think it was Mary Mann and Judy Moffat who were the leaders in terms of the chemistry, the ones you're looking at today, which are focused in chemistry. So they really looked at the standards from a chemical point of view, from the chemistry standards for New York State, because that's where they're responsible for, and they're considering those assessments as well, because they have to. One of the things that Regents Court, one of the things that I'll go ahead and pass out now, because you're asking the question, there's always good segue for that. There is a complete, what they did, one of the other things that they did in this is they came up with Regents Chemistry core topics, and talking about where nanoscience would fit into that on a general scale, not just a specific one. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this out also. You guys can have that as a resource as well. Okay, so speaking of the memory wire, and you guys are more of the chemists than I am, and so are you. So what's the science? You want to talk a little bit about the science behind it before we do it?
Yeah, sure. Well, nitinol, as you guys probably know, is a shape memory metal alloy. It's made from nickel and titanium, which gives it some unique properties. Yep. So what we're seeing when we heat the nitinol to form a certain shape, we're actually changing the phase of the crystal structure. It's being kind of organized into a more cubic, more solid, more hard, less ductile form. And when it cools down, it reverts back to its original, slightly less cubic. You can imagine the difference between like a square and a parallelogram. When it's shifted into this parallelogram type structure, it's bendy, it's ductile, and the change is reversible depending on what temperature the metal is at. I don't really know what else to say about it.
That's okay. So some of the experiments that we're doing with it, I believe, did we print that out?
I mean, it's used for a lot of things. Braces, we've talked about undergarments, we've talked about glasses, thermostats. Like we see applications all over in almost every field.
Yeah, so that's that project. So actually, do I have these? Where do I have these? Could have sworn I made these.
Didn't you pass these out? I feel like these were stapled
Yes.
together.
The hot? Does everybody have this one? What was that?
Yeah, they're stapled in there.
Okay. So it's in which one? Exploring the uses of, okay, good, because I just have the, okay, good. So open it up. Thank you for being yes. Okay, the worksheet's on the front, because that's one of their homework assignments. If you can flip into that, you should see this. This is what we're going to be working with. Okay? I tried to conserve paper and be smart about it, and then forgot where I tucked it. Sorry about that. So, fortunately, Jude explained for us actually the types, the mixture and what nitinol is, which is wonderful. And we talk about metals and nonmetals. So nitinol is clearly a mixture, right? Of the two metals. Okay, so then there's the particle diagram, which she just described. And you talked about crystalline. Wow, you did a great job. What happens when it starts? So, did I also do, I feel like I did. There we go, exploring the laboratory, here we go. Twist each wire in a loose knot, this one. And then on the back where it says hot, and on the back of it, those are the student instructions. Like, here's the worksheet, the exploration prior to a little bit of a flipped classroom, right? Exploration of nitinol before you get in. Then you flip it over, and on the back side, exploring physical properties. Okay? That's the actual student instructions. What I will say, and I think I forget whether it's Judy or it's Mary, the two teachers who were integral in this. One of them is recovering from surgery. Anyways, they couldn't be here. So I supervised them, and that's where I brought Jude in to be my scientist to share with you today, because I didn't want to not have this here. All right. So now we do this, but now you also would go through calculations, and I did work with them on those calculation pieces, because clearly that's where math becomes meaningful. But then what we're going to do is step number 3. We're going to twist it and see how it responds with an increase of temperature. Now, obviously, we don't have a Bunsen burner in here because we had this whole discussion. There's no way to pipe gas into this room. And we decided we do have a lighter, so I don't know if we're breaking any laws or going to set off any fire alarms. Hopefully not. So we're going to play with that.
You can do it with a hot plate. There's a hot plate in another room if you want me to grab it. Heidi,
It's okay, because I also have a hairdryer. Yeah, go ahead.
what are the 3 metals that you're using where it says wires A, B, or A and B? Are there 2 different types?
For the actual experiment, go ahead.
Oh, I was
Did you
just
have a
going to say, I
thought?
think for the experiment, you're comparing how different types of metals react under heat and under bending. For the demonstration today, we just have the nitinol wire. We're not using anything else.
Okay.
So when you actually do it, I mean, 2 separate kinds of wire.
Right.
I mean, you
Yeah,
could
I see
bring,
that.
yeah, and that's the intent. Okay. No,
Did
good
you wanna-
questions. Okay, so we're actually going to play with this. We also brought a hairdryer, which may or may not work for us, which is in that Walmart bag. So we're going to experiment a little bit. But as I said, you guys, some of you are chemists, and if you want to have fun with us, that'd be great. So we'll see how this goes. We have a plug-in over here.
There's also one here.
But you know what, we'll see more people over here,
Okay.
I think, if we're over here. All right, so this is the nitinol, but that was an excellent question, okay? You would be comparing it with others and having them make some judgments and some understanding. So what do you want to do first? I will be now I'm going to turn it over to Jude, and I will be her lab assistant to experiment with the wire. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was testing this a little bit earlier, and honestly, I think the wire is a little bit thick.
Okay, for some of our,
But the idea is that you can form this into any shape you want, get it super hot, and then after it's cooled down, it will retake that form with only heating. So what I'm going to try to do, whoops, is drop everything.
well, here, you want me to get the... So what they recommend in the lab, we'll just bring everything over here. We'll see if we can heat it enough.
Yeah. Well, the tongs are honestly very difficult. Those particular tongs
Okay.
are very difficult to use. We were kind of just using our hands.
Okay.
Which is
Here,
not
we
super
were
dangerous.
experiment like we do anytime. You guys are teachers, so you're constantly working with what you have available. So we got some tongs and we got some nails from actually Erin Krimmel. If you've met her, she's like the one who's running around here today. But her husband is a contractor, so he lent us some nails, and then we have the nitinol wire. Okay, so want me to hold it while you? So we're twisting it. Bottom line is we're twisting it around here.
Well, I think if I can hold it like this, maybe you can just heat it with either the hairdryer
I'll try the
or a
hairdryer.
flame. Okay.
Huh? What was that? I'm sorry, did you say something?
Is that you're going to allow it to cool in that phase? Or
Well, that's what we have the water for too, so yeah. Okay, so here goes. Huh?
See, that was my question. I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. And well, we also have
Yeah.
lighters, so we'll do both. Or maybe this can be the way we get heat on it later too.
Yeah, that would also work.
I see it moving.
And then I think the idea is to let
I don't know
it.
if that's enough though. Is that enough? Do you want to try to put wider? I want to try to put, because the actual experiment, if you have it, you get the nail super hot in the flame. So it's a 2-kid thing. One kid holds the nail in the flame, and then you wrap the wire around it immediately. That make sense? So that's what we're going for.
Yeah, and if
Well,
it
The way
worked,
that we used to do it is we would use an overhead lamp because the lamp itself, okay, to set it is hot enough. So if you just turn it
Wow.
on or whatever and you create your shape.
So anybody that doesn't have an LCD projector in their room and has the old-fashioned overhead, they did get hot. You're right. You're right. That's a very good
Yeah.
point.
We used to do it.
so after it's cool,
Hmm?
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Who's got a question?
What we've done is taken a piece of wood and hammer nails into it.
Right.
And then wrap it around.
And then use just like a blowtorch.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to use a nail.
Actually touch
Yeah, you can definitely, if you can get it into a specific shape and it's going to stay that way while you heat it, that would probably be the best way, honestly, better than
yeah, better than the nail they talked about.
Yeah.
I think some of the things our teachers, and what I'm hearing from you guys, some of the things our teachers talked about was what's available, what can we use? And I think for what I'm hearing is you guys have done the knit and all, which is awesome. How many people have played? Because it sounds like people have played with this already. So one of the things that this would provide is, yes, you've done it, but now there's a lot of stuff around it. So it kind of gives you a prepackaged, unless you've already got that too, but that's okay. This gives you one more avenue to that. And there might be other topics we've had a chance to do. So if we heat it, technically it should go back into the spiral.
Is that we should be able to see it
Reform.
Yeah, moving back to the shape that we heated it in.
And it's
which
starting
is
to
not,
move.
not quite.
It's not as, it doesn't have the pop we were hoping
Not very dramatic,
for.
yeah.
All right, so the sand might be a more exciting experiment.
Hopefully.
But one of the things while we're getting ready for the sand is one of the things that I did want to say, and I have a lot of good stuff on that sand too, is that these modules are obviously in development. And when they come out, one of the things we're going to have coming up, and I'll get those out, is that in March we're going to be getting really into all of them. So some of those things, like we only have this much knit and all wire. We would like to have more. But there's a lot going on with more than we ever anticipated in terms of getting things shipped to us in a timely fashion and so forth. So there's a lot of those things. That's why it takes about a year to get things together. But in March, we will have all of these ready to go. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I have a tri-fold here. Take as many as you would like, because this will tell us about how to get in touch with us in March. And then from there, we're going to actually get really into even more so than this quick preview, because this really is a preview of what's coming. Okay? Absolutely. No, ask away, because that didn't. Yes.
You might have said this already, but the knit and all wire.
Yes.
It relates to nano because of the grain boundaries, I'm guessing.
Say that because of?
Nanotechnology, because of the big grain boundaries you said, you know, in the wire itself. Is that?
Yes. Yes.
And then, is there
Sure,
actual
like-
applications that they use this kind of stuff for?
Sure, it's used a lot actually in metal braces. It's used in thermostats. Anytime that you need something to stay around a certain temperature, it's good for that. Like thermostats, usually the way they work is they'll heat up and the metal will bend in a certain way that turns off the system. So anything like that is a very important application. It's also used in underwires for bras. It's used in, like you said earlier, glasses. So there's a lot of different things that we can be using this technology for.
Because I know, I'm trying to think, I think it's NEATEC. I don't know. One of the other presenters actually, well, I don't know necessarily that they have the bra with them this time, but I know last year when I came, that is talked about, like that underwire in our bras and things like that.
But how do the heat/shape properties of knit and all make it a good material for an underwire, say, for example, whereas some other plastic or something?
I think just because it does retain its shape, so it can be bent out of shape, it can be worn, it can be washed, and it will go
pops
back to the original shape. Right. Yep.
So the other thing is that there's all sorts of shape memory materials, not just knitnol, but there's plastics and polymers and stuff too. So as simple as like those silly bands that no matter how much you stretch them, they go back into that shape. So
That's
the
all
temperature
nano.
that they go back could be room temperature. It's not necessarily heat.
I think I'm going to jump to this video while we get ready for the other one, because there's a video in here. No. Design. There's that one. Is this it? I don't know which one it is.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for what they showed here, but I'm just going to go back one. I don't really need this. I want to go back to what it was after that. Where's the one they're holding? This one. The Impossible Spring. This one might be.
The a possible spring. Stretch the spring and hold it stretched for 2 to 3 seconds until fully deformed. A normal spring would be damaged. At room temperature, the spring stays deformed. Your body temperature returns the spring to its original geometry. This is unheard of with any other type of spring. Isn't that amazing?
And that's just nitinol. So that's what that does. But there was another video, and I'm not coming up with it, so I need to try to do that. Let's see. Watch. If I change it right up here. This would be, when you pull this up, obviously this would be a link. Did it go?
Oops.
No, what did it do?
Yeah, you need to
Oh,
erase that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's in the engineering project. One of the things they wanted them to look at to see how that happens. There's another, like a table they made, and as you went around the room, like different temperatures came in and out, the table would move. So just that idea of responding to temperature, because there's certain temperatures that make it work. And that's where you guys as chemists know more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
All right. So since that was exciting, yes.
Is the wire inexpensive, expensive? Where do you get something like that? Is that just in science supply
I'm not sure.
catalogs, or is that readily available?
Natasha, where did we get the nitinol?
Yeah, I know it's easily available. I don't know how expensive it is.
They do.
Just Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah, it is readily available on the
Yeah.
internet.
Now, the beautiful thing about this, to bring everything back, the beautiful thing about this wire and any of the stuff that's in these kits, that once these are fully developed, when you as a teacher order the kit, you will either get enough for your entire class or you'll get enough for the 5 groups, if it's a lab activity, within the module. So the nitinol, if you did it, when you would come with that. Of course, if you wanted to do it a different timing from when you could get the kit will be on a 3-week loan. So once you request it, then you'll get a specific time frame that you'll get the kit. That make sense? So that's how that will work. So that would be in there for you in terms of this, because that's part of the funding that NSF provides for us. But very good point to my colleague from Berlin, who is being very resourceful on her iPad back there, or her tablet of whatever variety it is. It's okay. No, don't be sorry. It's good. It helped me out. It's fine. And as you just said, it's right there on the internet. So we can Google it and figure out where to get the nitinol. But I think Jude found out something very interesting here, that when we do put it in the kits, we're going to try for a thinner, less dense metal so it will respond more quickly to what students are trying to do. I mean, I would love to have something very much like that video where it was,
yeah, like the
body
paperclip
temperature cause was enough warmth
yeah.
enough to change it. So those are all aspects of it. All right. So now we're going to play with some magic sand. So we're going to pass these out, and then we need we need the water again.
Okay.
So,
All right, I'll work on that.
okay. All right, so I'm going to pass these out, and then we are going to explore the properties. What I'm going to show you what I'm giving you, so give you a chance
Water again.
to look at this, okay? And we are actually going to watch a video on this as well. But I'm going to tell you what I've got here. I'm going to tell you what I'm handing out. The first thing we've got, and I think the handouts are probably going to be the most valuable thing that you accumulate today. The first thing I'm handing out are exploring the properties of regular sand versus magic sand, okay? A lot of work went into these, and these are also for the kids as well as you as teachers. Okay, that's just an original. This is something that we pulled from another source, but it's a really nice, slick, already done lab book on the magic sand and properties. And interestingly enough, one of the modules we will be working on this summer, because I've already been given a little bit of an idea of it from an engineering point of view specifically. So we're going to be, one of our modules this summer, we're going to talk about how to create our own magic sand. So that's going to be neat. I've already have somebody kind of having that idea already in process. And you guys will appreciate this because you are my, huh?
Where am I going to get the beach sand?
Wait, take a field trip, yeah. All right, you guys will appreciate this. Here is the chemistry behind magic sand and magnetic model demonstration or video. So there's the standards behind it. So you guys will appreciate that. There we go. They will be. They're not now. Let me talk a little bit about the process, and then we're going to do the experiment. Okay? Pass it. Anything you think they want that they should have, yeah. What do you need?
This one? Sure.
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to developing these modules, we did, like I said, we did the basis in the summer, and then since then we've been doing the editing process. We've been getting the materials ordered, and the honest truth is that in all of these units, whether the modules we have from K all the way through high school, we have bits and pieces of everything, but nothing's really, all the materials haven't come in for any one thing yet. So that's something that's a little bit beyond our control in the sense of who we can order from, how quickly things come in. I mean, there's a reality of working through any form of an educational institution. I mean, that's just what we're dealing with. So not to excuse it, but that's what it is. The next step is going to be that once they are complete, our teachers are going to be playing with them, and then that's where in March comes in, where we have more in-depth and the actual, provided nothing health-wise happens to the ladies, we're going to have the teachers who created the units there working through it with you in terms of all of the aspects of it and all the research that they did to come up with this. Because what I will tell you about my position with all of this is that I was the facilitator and the recruiter, so I knew I had good people writing them. But chemistry's not my background, so they ran with it, and they did really some beautiful stuff in terms of what they've researched and what they've put together. So I can't quite do the same justice that they will be doing in March when you see them then, when you come back. All right, so in terms of the magic sand experiment, you should have that now, okay? It's this one. You guys got color copies because I went to work late last night and colored them. Got on the copier and made that happen. We're going to sprinkle, we're going to come around with beach sand. We actually ordered a bag of it. We have magic sand to share as well. We do, instead of, I don't know if we're going to use the cups, right? So for each group, I don't know, but not the spoons. I think the spoons are, let's see. What we're doing is we're actually going to sprinkle into the beaker. Record your observations, include drawings.
Okay. I brought 8 cups.
Right, and that's where the spoons come in. We are going to hand out the spoons, I think, because they'll have fun with that, even though spoons aren't here. We have spoons for our middle school, no, elementary school. You worked with me, it was elementary school. We have spoons for our elementary school module that we'll use for you because it actually has the sand glued to the spoon. And we use the spray. What is it, Elmer's spray? We talked about that.
She said 3M?
3M.
Adhesive spray.
3M adhesive spray on spoons, and we stuck the sand to it. And boy, did our elementary teachers have fun with that yesterday morning. So we are going to pass out some of those, so you can definitely play with that. Then we're actually going to look at what happens when, and obviously they would be going through this. What happens, what do you already know is going to happen with a normal beach sand? Right. And
It'll be hydrophilic.
hydrophilic, yes, you guys are already there. And we wouldn't call it magic sand in high school. What would we call it? If beach sand is hydrophilic, hydrophobic, right. And what are some of the uses of it beyond what we would do in science class, that it's cool? Or that you go down the discount aisle in Kmart and you can buy the pretty princess, or not pretty princess, but like the Little Mermaid kits and squirt the sand in the water and watch the castles form. Where else could this be used?
In NEATEC fabrics and things like that. Or whatever.
It's in fabrics.
I already did it.
Interestingly enough, it's being used in agriculture. Because if you think about it, if you've got really loamy, sandy soil, what happens to the water? Right? But what if you have a layer of this hydrophobic sand, and then you have your soil that the crop needs above it? What happens to the water then? It's trapped, so it can, yeah. So there's a lot of uses, and they can think beyond that. There's many more that they can find. We found some of that, we pre-found some of that for our elementary grades to kind of talk about how that was interesting.
We also talked about how they use that in movie special effects in chemistry, because there's a lot of times when, like water will wash up on something and it's not getting absorbed or whatever, and they use it to create a different effect or whatever for, whatever purpose.
So remind me your first name again, I should know. Hillary. Hillary is talking about movie effects as one of the things that happens. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pass this out, and actually some dry spoons too. We probably have those over in the blue one. Mm-hmm. So instead of a pipette, you're going to have your dry spoons to put water on these spoons. And then the other thing that Jude and I will come around and do just to have fun is as you read through it, again, if you want to talk with each other as far as what's available here, looking at the different things that we've looked at and the different things that we have found in terms of these labs. One of the cool things is that if you sprinkle a layer of the hydrophobic sand on here, and then you push your fingers down through it, your finger doesn't get wet. You guys have already seen it happen? That was pretty cool, yeah.
I will mention one thing too, we should always have controls that we don't hear, so we should definitely have just a place.
We have one coming.
Because that's something that.
If you could pass that one down too.
Yep. So to Hillary's point, we just hadn't gotten around with a clean spoon. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys play for a little bit while I find some of the videos and so forth. Oh, I like this. You guys are such chemists. Play with the spoons. What is the hydrophobic sand? Now, we purchased it. I forget what laboratories we got it from. But I will say to purchase it, oh, another one had a sticker on it. I will have to ask Erin or Natasha. This costs $25 minimum.
What?
Did you get it somewhere else differently?
Yes.
Where'd you purchase it?
You can get magic sand from teachersource.com for $4.95 a pound.
Okay, that might be a better place to buy it.
$4.95 a pound at teachersource.com. We have nitinol and all that as well.
We need to open a PO from Hudson Valley to them.
Teachersource.com, yeah.
That might be part of our problem, is who we can have a supply from. So teachersource.com, there we go.
I couldn't wait. Even though I
I love it. Well, that means it's pretty awesome. You want some more water over there? A long day, huh?
Yes, thanks.
Thanks for coming out from Kenajahara. You had a hike today. Sorry. I was praying this would be so much better, but that's all right. What? The last thing I want to do is waste your time. Okay.
We're telling a story about a teacher.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and the bubbles are
I think we should look up the Lotus Effect. What do you think? But that's mentioned. I think I'll walk through this and talk about that, and then I want to look up the Lotus Effect. Where would that be? Oh, is that the lotus of the flower? That's probably that flower.
What's that? Yeah, okay.
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
Oh, you're done playing with them? Okay.
All right, I'll take those for
The
you.
sand ones, of course, are wet.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
recycle them.
So which one are you doing next?
It's the lotus leaves, that's why. That's why it's the Lotus Effect.
Yep, the lotus. I read about that.
Which one do you think we should pick? Because it just says
probably-
to research it.
Probably something like that's gonna have. It looks like it's doing. It has like water droplets on top.
It's 50 seconds, that's pretty good. Okay. Oh, this is how to do experiment too, but yeah, we talked about that. Oh, interesting. That's the bacterial sanitary stuff, where stuff slides off. I'm not doing the Solomon one. I think you're right. We should do this one. It's been around so long, it hasn't had any. Great. You notice that on YouTube, they're starting to put ads in?
Yeah.
So what are some observations you guys have that might be different or the similar? I'll share with you what some of your younger colleagues had. What are some of the observations you guys are making over here? It's fun to play with. What are we going to talk about in high school, though?
The shape of the drop.
The shape of the drop. Why? Why is the shape important?
It curls back on itself in the hydrophilic state.
But it doesn't on the other one, right? Yeah. So on the hydrophobic, it curls into a ball, which is better known as, in our world, a sphere, right? Okay, math, you know, 8th grade math, they got to know a sphere this year. Why would it curl into a sphere? That's where the science comes involved. Surface tension. And the force of, what do we know about the volume versus Are you laughing at me or the? Oh. Do we have a troublemaker? Okay, just because we don't have Steve here, how many people know Steve from Ichabod Crane? Oh, okay. He was in all my things yesterday, but anyways, he's cool. So you're standing in even though you don't know him. Is that it? I know. You do? What's your first name? Brian. Brian, okay. Now you can tell him that, yeah. Heidi talked about you. Where were you? What do you know, all of us math and science geeks, what do you know about the volume versus the surface area of a sphere? If I take that same surface area and mush it into a cylinder, is the volume more or less?
Say that again. Mush it, it's more.
The sphere is more, right?
The sphere is more.
Yes, the sphere maximizes, right? Surface area to volume. To maximize the volume I can get with a static surface area, right? The sphere is the maximum combination, isn't it? So wouldn't the water do that? Doesn't that make sense? It's kind of cool. So there's all these things we can talk about with that. Now, if you look at this, this is the basis that we were playing a little bit with. And you'll notice as we go through this activity you investigate. So the kids would be investigating. And it wouldn't be the kids that was in this lovely young lady. I'm sorry, what's your first name? Maureen. So Maureen's kids, she plays with it all the time. So let's say we have a kid before they get to Maureen. So they haven't seen this and they get to explore it. So that's really key also. And make the comparisons. What do you think they're going to see happen when they sprinkle the normal beach sand versus the magic beach sand into the water? What do you think will happen? Right. Not immediately, though. That magic sand drops in, but what happens? Like, have you ever played? I played with my niece. It drops in, and it looks silvery and glittery. Why? In clumps at the bottom of the water. Yeah, because the water is repelled from it. So it has that diffraction going on, right? And then when I lift it, we might be, if we have a little bit of time here, because it's already, yeah, I'm watching time. We have like, 18 minutes left. I have 18 minutes of your time here. I'm going to try to do that, actually. We have a little bit of sand in the water. Sure. Now, we're going to record those observations. You did the drops. You guys noticed that about the drops, right? It was interesting, and I think of the young lady who just left, middle school colleagues. They discovered that that droplet of water on the spoon with the magic sand stuck to it, you can get some real distance when you try to fling that drop. But if you put the drop of water on the one with the regular sand, it just doesn't go anywhere. I'm surprised you didn't figure that out, Brian. All right. Now, there's all these other things that go through it. What do you think is going to happen with the magic sand when we pull it out of the water? It's dry instantly. So it's pretty cool. We're going to play with that a little bit. And finally, one of the other things that they talk about on the back here, as you go through, this is your recording sheet, which is in the back, right? It talks about the different steps, that the steps match up with the steps here. So you can notice that that nice recording sheet is set up for you. But then we get to the questions at the back. They have to look these things up. They have to look up hydrophobic. They have to look up hydrophilic. And then they have to talk about using those words in their observations. And then they have to look up the Lotus Effect. Who knows a little bit? Jude and I just found a video we think will be good for the Lotus Effect. But what do you guys think about, what do you think that comes from? Lotus Effect. Any idea why we'd be talking about a lotus flower, other than that's on that dress at the beginning? It is hydrophobic. How many people knew that about lotus? Maureen again. Why aren't you part of my groups, Maureen?
Because I live in Seattle.
Okay, well that would explain it.
This is my job in Seattle.
Speak up anytime. This is wonderful. All right, so we're going to do this video particularly because the lotus has this effect on its own, and that led to a lot of the talk about what is this hydrophobic versus hydrophilic. Sorry. This has been around so long it even has an ad. You notice that little, that means there's an ad. Sorry, but Maybe I should have left it small. Oh. I like their music. So then what could we talk about with that? When we looked really close, what was happening with the bubble? It's being pushed away. Now, because it's your job, Maureen, out in Seattle, how do you describe that?
So the lotus leaf is a little bit different than the magic sand, where magic sand uses polarity, which is why it picks up oil. But the lotus leaf actually uses these tiny bumps that have little bumps on top of them. So it's actually just increasing the surface tension in the water, so it's more attracted to itself than the lotus leaf. The one thing that I will tell you is that kale does the same thing, and you can get it, and it's cheap. So it's much easier to get.
Kale. I learned something. Collard greens will work that way. Now, where are you from? You're local.
Yeah, the green cabbage might work. I've never used it. So kale or red cabbage. So there's other things. So the question is, did you guys notice what happened with, you can see it, what happened with the dirt on the leaf when it rolled past? It picked up the dirt. And so it's self-cleaning. It's the reason why the lotus leaf
Always looks clean.
always looks clean, because it'll clean up the dirt and get rid of bacteria and other things that would be on the lotus leaf.
But that'll be attracted to the water.
Yeah, and if you have you could probably do this with kale too. We have done it with the shirts that are the same, where it's, because of course you don't want oil to stick to your shirt, so you don't want polarity to be the reason why it's hydrophobic. But, so what you can do is if you sprinkle pepper or something, either on a shirt or on a lotus leaf, then you can see that it'll pick up the pepper and clean that material.
Okay, so we have a wealth of knowledge in our audience. Good,
I have
yes.
a video that's goofy
Okay.
and funny, and it explains that same thing, but a little bit more in depth about the little fingers and the little, nanofibers.
I think I may have seen. Yeah, that'd be great. Do you want to?
No, I don't have it on the top of my mind. It's in my
Oh,
on
it's
my
in your.
computer.
Okay, I didn't know if it
Because
was a
I use it
YouTube
in
that
my
you have
class.
found it, but that would be great. Yeah,
You want me to? I can forward it to you. So
that'd be
it's
fantastic.
really
Now, are you
goofy.
local, honey?
Yeah.
I want you to work with me this summer. So write my email down. See, this is what I do well. I recruit great people, like people in my audience. Yes.
So when we teach the leaf,
Yeah.
it also could be, because we talk about that it has a cuticle and it's a waxy coating, but actually as you read into what it actually is, it is a polymer. So again, you can actually put together life science context and realize that it's really not what kids envision it, that it's a waterproof.
That's what they're envisioning. That's right. And it's really the bumps, which is what Maureen brought up. Yeah.
So if you can bring it to that level so that they don't, those fallacies are already, you get those out of their minds right now before they start to have misunderstandings.
Audrey, is that right?
Yes.
Audrey is from Berlin. Not from necessarily, but certainly teaches a small school in rural New York, if you guys are familiar with where that is. As a matter of fact, when I drive to Berlin, I go through a little village called the Alps. Kid you not, it's the funniest thing. So, but she has a phenomenal classroom in her science classroom. I've been there. And so she's our middle school counterpart. She's actually the one who started the experiment with flinging the drops of water that everybody really enjoyed after that. It wasn't you, right? Okay, so we have a little bit of time now. We have about 10 minutes. I know I haven't done as much with you as I'd like, but you guys are definitely the bright. But let me tell you something. You guys are the people I want, okay? I want you, like I just, remind me your first name again. Diana, like Diana. I want you to be part of this, even Brian, because I love senses of humor, to be part of what we're doing. Because what do we need to do? Why would I call this fanning the flame? Or fanning, fanning the flame. Why would I call it that? Why would I go there? Because what are our kids going to do that come out of Diana's class, or Brian's class, or Maureen's class, or Audrey's class? Or yours with the bright face. What's your name? Todd, or Todd's class. What are we going to be doing? What are our kids going to do when they come out of our classes?
Really cool things.
What did you just say? Be excited. Do things we never dreamed we could do, and move things forward, move our whole society forward, and come back and talk in our classes, right? Wouldn't that be cool? All right, because you have the cups of water, I want you guys to see what happens when the magic sand drops in the water, but we're not going to mix the beach sand with it.
Okay.
So we're going to walk around, and before you go, play with some magic sand in this cup, because you will really love to see what happens with it. All right, and that'll be the last thing we do. And I understand that I'll get the other side, yep. So it's a very informal ending. I'll put a couple of other things up here for you.
Heidi, I just have one question.
Yes. Ask away.
Where would we go to get access to these modules? To Quastar or what?
Oh, Questar? No. Actually, right now, the teachers have to, this is me, so I have 2 different places. I'm also on Facebook, from Counting Cows to Calculus. I have a little, right now you have to email me directly. The modules are not out online yet, but they will be, because eventually neatec.org. Right. And nanohub.org. But that's our future. That's where we're going. So you guys are ahead of the curve to have already some hard copy in your hands. Oh, did you already hit this side?
Got this side.
Okay. Isn't that neat? Play with that. And one of the units we're making this summer is going to be, we're going to create our own magic sand. Yep. But watch this. See how, look how it comes off your spoon. That's what I found really cool. Like, see when I do this? Yeah, now see, watch this. A little bit more in this one. Right? But then watch this. Watch that.
So you get
Touch it.
it's dry.
It's dry. Yeah. Isn't that neat? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Yeah. But look at the bottom. Why does it look? Yeah, it's like a silicone coating.
Okay.
See how it's like sparkly?
Yeah.
And shimmery? That's why my niece loves it. But then look at that. You pull it out and it's dry again. We played and played and played, and it was just a cheap little set.
Oh, they would definitely play with that.
Yeah. So have fun with that.
Oh, that's because it's glued up. That was the one that was glued on.
That's the glue. That's the one that's glued on, and this is the one that's plain, so you guys can play with it. Yeah. But play with it. Play with it. And when you're done playing, you can go home.
We did it.
Thank you.
I just wish this would have worked out.
I do too.
If we had something like to clamp it down, I think, to get it to stay still and then really, really heat it up.
Well, I mean, the whole intent, the way it's written, is to take this and heat the nail so that it's wicked, wicked hot.
Yeah,
And then
but there
that
was
heats
no way
the
we're gonna
wire.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm a little naive about technology because I don't teach it, but is magic sand a nano product?
It is.
Is it a principle that nano?
It's a product. It's basically like a sand-type crystal, and this is where I'm not the chemist. But what I do understand from a teacher I worked with yesterday, who he is going to spearhead a unit for me this summer on actually making What does it take to make the magic sand, and actually walking kids through what properties do we notice, what do we think can do that, and then creating it ourselves, probably with another product. But the idea is every one of those sand crystals is coated with like a something like a Scotch guard, if you will. I don't know exactly what, but it's coated so that it's got those bumps like the lotus leaf does, where it pushes things.
Okay. That makes sense.
What makes it nano?
Yes, because it's at that level, exactly. Isn't that cool? Look at that.
It is cool.
And if you take the plain blue spoon, you can actually show how when you pull it out, it's dry. The sand is dry. Yeah. So play with it, touch it, feel it. That's what our kids would do, right?
Eat it, I don't dare you eat it.
Yeah, this is right. Have you guys done?
Why don't we play with mercury anymore?
Have you guys done where you get it on the top and run your hand through it? Yeah.
Close the school.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, with the mercury? It is about 5 till 3. You can stay and play as long as you'd like, but you can also leave if you'd like. You take more of these if you'd like. I want to thank you very much for coming. I'm going to see if I have a survey, though. Do we have a survey for this one? Are we supposed to have a survey this time? Oh, right there. I'm sorry, we do have to have you fill out a survey. You can say, well, Heidi's not a science person, but no. If anybody wants extras of these.
Nano in the classroom, high school?
High school, that's close enough. NEATEC. I have to go look in the... Yeah, high school NEATEC learning module overview. Hey, it works in high school. That's what I did when I knew I was going to be out and had to have a sub. Huh. Actually, I'm pretty impressed with the noise you guys generated and the excitement you guys had as you were working together and playing, and I appreciate that. Was it yesterday in the afternoon, because I was doing the middle school piece, and because the camera was on, it was silent. I had to tease them out a little bit. It was interesting. Jude and I are going to pick them up. So we appreciate that, thanks. I mean, if you're going to bring them up to us, that's cool too, but. Here's our, right there. Yeah, just put it right in the envelope there. Oh, perfect, thanks.